Candace Owens just smashed Zionists for lying to Americans to get them to support Israel, lying about the people that dare object to that, and more than anything, and most hilariously, I think, the propensity of people with minuscule audiences to say, I'm not gonna platform Tucker Carlson, as if they had the higher standpoint in that arrangement. So let's get right into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
I'd like to press my finger here, and I don't particularly love the reaction that we're seeing from Christian Zionists right now. I don't even know how to describe what is happening over in Christian Zionist land. It is wacky. It is definitively exceptional. I've never seen it. There's anger, there's tears, there's frustration, there's fatigue, there's defeat, and of course, there's biblical scripture, right? When my show hit #1 globally last week, it was just an all-out virtual war. Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee tweeted this. This is hilarious. He obviously just tweets a verse trying to make it seem like, again, this is what they do, Christian Zionists. They will find a verse to be petty and like use scripture to justify who they really just want to insult me or Tucker Carlson. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? Okay, like that's not like that is, are you out of your mind? Actually, I didn't sell my soul, right? All of you guys did. I had to literally build from scratch because I was rejected everywhere, plus canceled. You shut down, you went after my sponsors, you emailed people, you got me banned from Australia. I actually did the exact opposite. I didn't sell my soul, and I said what was right about what was happening in Gaza. So there's that.
Absolutely right, and I noticed, coincidentally, I'm sure, Seth Dillon didn't tweet out, say, John 14:6, that when Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and the only way to get to God is through me. You know, no, he would never tweet that one out. He would probably call that kind of verse blood libel, right, or anti-Semitism. No, he's pretty selective, trying to draw upon Christian influence to support his pet favorite regime in the Middle East, just like Ben Shapiro, just like Mark Levin, just like all of these neocon Zionist stooges that clearly prioritize that foreign country, even when it conducts a genocide on the U.S. bankroll over their own country and their own communities.
Joel Berry, who also is at the Babylon Bee, he's a real funny guys, wrote this. In the last year, Candace and Tucker have given our side nothing but demoralization, division, confusion, and conflict. Their impact on the right has been devastating. They've made us weaker, and they've won nothing except clicks and ad revenue for themselves. Pathetic.
Well, he is right about one thing. They have demoralized the Zionists. That's right. Candace has demoralized the Zionists, thankfully.
Strange. I've never been on the same side as Joel Berry. Just want to clarify that. I am never on the side of people that cheer on kids being killed and churches being bombed and insinuate, as he did, that even the Christians in Gaza aren't really human beings and that they're all supporting Hamas, which is basically justifying a genocide, right? Justification of genocide. I have never been on your side. Then there were these compounding lies, okay? Obviously, last week, we watched Ben press Meghan on stage. Very strange to see him do something like that, to see him just lie and try to pressure her with the lie. And we're not the only people that are stressed out, because apparently Grok is stressed out because it can't keep up with the lies that are being spread about me. So he had some sort of a software crash out. This was him being like, I'm tired, and sitting in his car. I'm just going to show you what Grok said at the top here. No, I want the Grok headline. Candace Owens accuses Turning Point USA of Charlie Kirk assassination role. And then it says, Candace Owens alleged Turning Point USA orchestrated the October 15th, 2025 assassination of its founder, Charlie Kirk, in Phoenix, Arizona, by former volunteer Marcus Hale, who police say acted alone with no evidence. Ben Shapiro publicly condemned Owens's claims as evil. And then, yeah, it's just none of this is real.
I mean, absolutely insane. Every part of this seems wrong. October 15th, 2025? No. It happened on the 11th of September, obviously. And Marcus Hale, I don't think she's mentioned that guy's name. I could be wrong about that, but I've watched every single episode since this of her show. I don't think she's ever mentioned that individual. And she certainly hasn't claimed Turning Point USA orchestrated his murder. She thinks people in the organization betrayed him and thinks some things don't kind of withstand, basic scrutiny about their narrative and the FBI's narrative versus her investigation, but she's never said that, obviously. And, I'm not that surprised that Ben Shapiro is trying to manipulate Megyn Kelly. He's taking after his hero, Netanyahu, who successfully manipulated the United States political class for several decades, trying to twist her into his favored position on this, at all costs. Because, again, he's Israel first. That's his job. He's a foreign operative. Of course he's going to try to do that with fence sitters like Megyn Kelly, who, won't courageously take a stand on this, still calls herself a Zionist, despite all this madness and everything that we've seen and Americans have seen in the last 2 years.
Like, you guys are exhausting not just Ali Stuckey, you're exhausting Grok. So many lies are being made up about me. If you don't have time to look at the facts and see what we've come up with, and that's fine, but you're not required to interject here. I just want everybody to know that. Grok, Ali, everyone, you are not required to take part in this, and we're not stopping, okay? Anyways, the oddest response came from Mark Levin, who has been kind of psychopathically obsessed with destroying Tucker Carlson for years now. He was very happy when Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox News. They don't seem to be friends.
Which is ironic because Tucker's bigger than ever since he got fired from Fox News. He's the #1 influencer on the right. So I can't wait for this one, man. Get your Orville Redenbacher out, man. Butter up that popcorn. This one's going to be great.
And regarding Mark Levin, if a person was actually like, you should move to Israel because it would make you happier, if that was a person, that would be Mark Levin, okay? Turning Point USA, credit to them, said we are not canceling Tucker Carlson despite the peer pressure, despite them sending out every queen and pawn on the board to make that happen. They said he's still speaking, and not only is he speaking, but why don't you debate Mark Levin? Debate Tucker Carlson on stage. And this is how Mark Levin responded. It's incredible, and I'm actually going to roll the whole thing. It's about 2.5 minutes, but I want you guys to listen to him.
I got a very strange text this morning from Tucker Carlson. 10:16 a.m. I'll read it to you for verbatim. Good morning, he writes to me. The leadership at Turning Point has asked me to debate you at their event in Scottsdale in December. I'm happy to do it, and I hope you'll agree as well. Beyond the personal insults, which I'll try to keep to a minimum, there are real and important ideological differences between us, and I think the country would benefit from an extended conversation about them. So again, I hope you'll accept. Let me know. Thanks. The guy is desperate. He's taken a hit on his podcast. He's fighting like hell for his career. He's fighting like hell for his reputation. People are awakening to what scum he actually is.
Just think of that. Mark Levin saying that about Tucker Carlson with 5 million subscribers on his YouTube. That he is fighting to maintain relevance. And you're Mark Levin saying that? I can't wait to see where this goes.
And he thinks I'm going to platform him? He thinks I'm going to help him kick up his podcast ratings? What would Charlie say? What would Rush say? What would any rational response? Here it is. I wrote him the following. My family and I want nothing to do with you. What you've become, your vile libels against my faith, millions of Christians, and in my view, what you seek to do to our country. There's nothing to debate. You're a Nazi promoter.
This is getting me too excited. It's so ridiculous. Imagine him saying this, like, genuinely. He believes that Tucker's a Nazi promoter and his podcast is struggling, and he's not going to platform Tucker Carlson? Mark Levin has like 85,000 YouTube subscribers. My channel, and I'm nothing. I have 4 times his subscribers, and he's saying I won't platform Tucker Carlson. Just think about that. It's so preposterous. I can't even believe I'm hearing this, and this isn't AI.
You're the modern-day David Duke. I debate people with whom I disagree for a living, who are a lot smarter than you, but for whom I have some respect. I'm also disappointed in TPUSA that continues to platform you. It's not about free speech. You can be heard by millions regardless.
Complaining about platforming, again, indistinguishable from the woke liberal establishment, just like, I don't know, 5 years ago. This was very commonplace. 3 years ago. Still happens in some circles that conservatives rightly objected to. You were being a snowflake if you didn't debate the issues, that you didn't take them on. But Mark Levin can't take them on because he's lost. The Zionists have lost the argument. Americans have shifted their sensibilities away from this rogue, foreign, murderous regime for good reason.
Some unsolicited advice. Stop long enough to remember who you used to be and what you used to stand for. So, as expected, knee-jerk. For the record, I'm strongly anti-Nazi. Does he sound that way to you, America? Oh, you're going to hear more. But that's hardly the point. This seems like the perfect opportunity to rebut what you consider evil ideas and to do it to my face like a man.
Yeah.
I think you jump at the chance, assuming you believe your positions are defensible. I'm offering the marketplace of ideas you often talk about. Is it possible you can't really defend, for example, what Israel has done to civilians in Gaza? I said, there you go. You're not feared, you're despised. Well, you're
This is such a cell phone that he's reading this. He's reading a perfect reply from Tucker Carlson that it's indefensible what Israel is doing in Gaza. Does Levin have any answers for that? No, he keeps trying to smear Tucker. I can't believe this. This is amazing.
a coward. And if you change your mind, I'm here. Thanks. You little bastard, you attacked my stepson? You didn't do that face to face, did you? You stabbed him in the back while he's serving President Trump on his second tour, while he's in safe rooms with ballistic missiles passing over his head.
So Tucker betrayed his son-in-law because he objects to the genocide in Gaza? Does this make any sense to anyone? Like, I can't even understand this from trying my hardest to steelman the Zionist and neocon argument on this. It just is so preposterous. And servicemen generally favor a non-interventionist foreign policy. Ron Paul found that out when he collected more donations from U.S. servicemen in both of his campaigns than all the other candidates.
You little bastard. Nobody's afraid of you. I'd rather debate a skunk than you.
Is he good? Is everybody okay? Like, what? This would be your opportunity to reveal Tucker Carlson to the world, since you say like that he's a fraud and he's lying and all of this stuff. Like, why wouldn't you readily accept that debate? Why are you so focused on canceling him? And LOL to you saying that you don't want to platform Tucker Carlson.
That's the best.
Yeah. You know what? I decided on this podcast, I'm not going to platform Taylor Swift. Yeah, I'm not going to platform her. So if she ever wants to come with this podcast, I will not platform. Like, are you this delusional? You cannot be that delusional. You cannot be that delusional. What are you saying? Something is happening. I'm telling you guys, this is like a full Zionist crash out since Charlie died. And I just feel like they sense a very real threat to the little matrix that they established.
No doubt. That's exactly what we're seeing. And that's a perfect response by Candace. This is really akin to saying that she's not going to platform Taylor Swift, the biggest, contemporary musician in terms of overall appeal and popularity. It's just so ridiculous. You can't even, I can't even believe that was real, what we just heard. It's so preposterous on so many levels, not only because it's indistinguishable from the same things that, again, the legacy media, liberal establishment was saying, hey, we can't promote these people. We can't platform these people. And if you decide otherwise, and if you do platform them, you're the enemy too. Well, that's exactly what's unfolding on the American right now with these Zionists saying, Tucker Carlson, you cannot platform Nick Fuentes. You can't debate him, even if you push back at times, which some of them don't even admit that part. But not only do we have to cancel Tucker Carlson, we have to do inception cancellation. It's the new right-wing flavor of wokeness, where you say, hey, if you talk to Tucker Carlson, we're going to cancel you too. It's just cancellation, inception, woke inception on the right playing out. And we're supposed to not question this at all, by the way. Like, this, is just something normal that happens. This is just kind of a, basic reaction to and a kind of enunciation of civility. Like, this is the way things go. No, that is not the best rhetoric that the right's ever produced. better rhetoric at least was saying, hey, you should take on the ideas, and smear campaigns don't work, and propaganda campaigns don't work. Yelling racism doesn't work. You know, the right Zionists do that now. They just say anti-Semitism. It's just a different way of saying you're a racist. It's the same strategy, just a very slightly different variant of that strategy. And that's what you're seeing from Ben Shapiro and from Mark Levin. These people are Israel first. We see their game. We see right through it. They're not going to get this kind of stranglehold back on the American people. Now, they still have it to a large extent in the government. Certainly so. Power holders in AIPAC have sway over Congress, over the deep state, over the presidency, the military-industrial complex, and the banks are involved in that too. But we see through this now. And if politics are downstream from culture, as Breitbart said, and I believe, I think we will see this, at least turn into some kind of political change. It's not going to happen overnight. Be very surprised if it happens by the 2028 elections. But we know their game. And these people are just so delusional. And Candace is exactly right by saying the desperation has grown because they sense a threat. And the threat is a deprioritization of their hierarchy of priorities that has, not United States, maybe their communities in here, maybe, their geographical region, maybe, their families somewhere, and then way up here, it's Israel. That's at the top of their prioritization hierarchy. That's at the top of their, mountain, their mountain of interest. It's always at the top. It's always number one. Trump was appealing because he seemed to be a repudiation of other countries first, even though he never truly was in my mind, especially even in his first term, he was clearly Israel first. But the rhetoric did serve to persuade people to support him en masse. There's no disputing that. You can't challenge that, I don't think. So I'm with Candace here. This was humiliating. I can't believe Levin even said this, even knowing what Levin says, just a complete delusional diatribe by him. But what do you guys think? Am I right? Are the Zionists in panic mode? Are they lying? Are they going to be able to get away with this strategy forever? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to Candace. Great segment. If you like this video, please consider becoming a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. If you do that, I'll give you access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. Also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. It'll shoot you off to a site. Plug in your email. I'll send that to you for free, absolutely free, no obligation, via email and PDF form. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.
And if that's not humiliating enough, Mike Huckabee just went over to Israel and met with Jonathan Pollard. And we do have a bunch of treasonous spies. Their job, I guess, is to further enslave us to the gang colony in the Middle East that is pretending that they have been ordained by God to murder. I'm starting to think that Israel wants us to hate them. Like, that's the ultimate psyop. They want us to hate them.
Candace Owens just slammed the Trump administration for shameless Israel first treason, in this clip specifically talking about U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee meeting with convicted Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard, who served a 30-year prison sentence in the United States for giving Israelis secrets that would fill, by one account, a 6 by 6 by 10-foot room, including nuclear secrets that were passed on to the Soviets. And why he tried to hide this from the public, what it means for politics, and what it means for the Trump administration. Let's get right into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Okay, so one of the things that is just getting weirder by the day is the general public having to pretend like the United States is not completely infiltrated by Zionist psychopaths. And it's just getting odd, right? They're going through extraordinary lengths to let us know that they have all the power and they're going to do whatever it is that they want. And they're just engaging in naked propaganda to serve the state of Israel. So I'm going to show you a couple of these headlines. I guess let's start with Mike Huckabee. He is the ambassador to Israel and apparently is completely shameless. Now, just to go back, in case you missed it back in October, Mike Huckabee and the former U.S. ambassador to Israel, which was David Friedman, took to the stage in Jerusalem to perform Sweet Home Alabama. And by Sweet Home Alabama, I mean Sweet Home Jerusalem in Hebrew. or something. Just watch it. And hey, challenge, no cringing.
Can't agree to those terms.
I'm starting to think that Israel wants us to hate them. Like, that's the ultimate psyop. They want us to hate them.
Yeah, it's hard not to after absurdities like that, where you have the U.S. ambassador to Israel, the Israel Firster, Mike Huckabee, preeminent neocon, botching and bastardizing an American rock classic by just tarnishing it with Zionist lyrics. Just think of that. It's almost inconceivable that that's true. Actually, when this video came out, I actually thought, is that AI? Would they do something so preposterous? And it's just yes. The answer is always yes, over and over and over. And it gets dumber and dumber and more of a slap in the face every single time. And then Huckabee meeting with Pollard after, by the way, campaigning to try to commute or parole him in previous administrations came to fruition. They tried to conceal this meeting. It just gets crazier and crazier and more impossible to accept. Americans see this. A lot of Americans don't follow this, but the ones that do, they see this, and that's why we're turning away.
It's unbelievable, the factor of cringe. And if that's not humiliating enough, Mike Huckabee just went over to Israel and met with Jonathan Pollard. Okay, Jonathan Pollard, if that name's not familiar to you, is a literal convicted Israeli spy. This is the headline. Yeah, there he is. Seems like a good guy. American who spied for Israel says he met Ambassador Mike Huckabee to thank him for his support, because he did support him. Jonathan spent 30 years in prison on espionage charges after being found to have pretended to work for the American government, but was actually working to pass documents over to Israel. That's kind of a theme. Our greatest ally. It's just a theme with our greatest ally. And despite being found guilty, despite spending 30 years in prison, people were saying we should be kinder to this guy. And Huckabee was among several pro-Israeli politicians who advocated for Jonathan Pollard to be released. And he, when he was released, was welcomed in Israel. Like the red carpet was rolled out for him, I think, literally. And I think Bibi Netanyahu met him on the runway. Like, you did, you served us well. And
that's exactly true. Fact check true. And guess whose private jet was used to fly him from the United States to Israel? You guessed it, Miriam Adelson's. What a surprise. What a coincidence, right? He used Miriam Adelson's private jet, went over to Israel. We played this video on a previous video where I was talking about Nick Fuentes talking about this. But he literally went down the stairs onto the tarmac. Netanyahu was there. Before he shook Netanyahu's hand, he kissed the ground. He was given a hero's welcome. The red carpet rolled out for him and greeted as a hero ever since. And there's been a lot of, half-truths about this, so I'll just clear that up. Originally, Pollard got a life sentence with the possibility of parole. Well, the Obama administration granted him parole in 2015. But his terms of probation were 5 years, and those expired during the Trump administration in 2020. Trump's DOJ did not expand his parole stipulations, which it did have the power to do. So both presidents are culpable for this. He was never pardoned. He was never commuted. But Trump did pardon Pollard's handler on the last day of his first administration. So I hope that clears up some misunderstandings around this.
Who cares? The American people suffered. So you'd think Mike Huckabee would go, I'm not going to meet with him because that shows that I am an Israel firster. But there is just a level of shamelessness that, I don't know. What was it that Carolyn Levitt said? They asked Carolyn Levitt about this at the White House, and she said, and I quote, "The White House was not aware of that meeting, but the president stands by our ambassador." Well said, Caroline.
Yeah, just think of that. They're so brazen that they won't even reject the horrible optics of this. They will just back that. They will just dig their heels in support of this, despite how shameful and shameless this is. It's just so insane to tolerate, and they don't even care anymore. Sometimes I just think they're trying to do whatever they can in an Israel first direction just to see what they can get away with. Yeah, we're going to meet a convicted Israeli spy and then back it from the presidential spokesperson. Insane.
I mean, just so you know, I didn't know he was going to meet with a traitor, but we stand by him anyway if he's meeting for a traitor. And the reason we stand by him is because we're all traitors. We are all treasonous. I hate everyone. I hate that this is allowed. I think it's fair for us to hate that it's allowed. And we do have a bunch of treasonous spies. Their job, I guess, is to further enslave us to the gang colony in the Middle East that is pretending that they have been ordained by God to murder. And yeah, I don't know. There is some comedic relief coming, though. Tim Dillon covering anything is always hilarious. And he is covering the occupation of our media because it's just so in our faces now. It's never been this in our face, you know? Before we get to what he had to say about Bari Weiss, I want to remind you that Bari Weiss started and is a part owner, at least, of the Free Press. Before she went on to CBS News, she notoriously left New York Times and said it was biased and we needed to have something that was in the middle of the line, and she just couldn't get behind all of this COVID propaganda, and she was going to start the Free Press and they were going to go back to doing hardcore, real, non-biased journalism.
What she really meant by saying that, by the way, is we have to go in a further direction toward Hasbara. We need more Hasbara than even the New York Times gives us. That's what she meant. And yeah, she started the Free Press, and it was bought out by the Ellisons. Larry Ellison, the head of Oracle, bought out Paramount, which was the parent company of CBS, elevating Bari Weiss to the editor-in-chief. And they valued the Free Press at, get this, $150 million. Now, the Free Press does not even perform as well as this channel that you're watching right now on a good day, on an average day. And it was valued at $150 million. They are desperate to try to recapture the ground they've lost to people that are actually raising their eyebrows about this stuff, asking questions about it for the first time, and noticing how occupied our media is, our government is, and how much influence the Israel lobby has over our lives.
So what kind of journalism are they doing over at the Free Press? Okay. This is a real email. I'm not being funny. I feel like you're going to think this is SNL, that fluttered into my inbox the other day from a writer. His name is Ashley Reinsberg. And this is the email. I'm just going to read you the email. This is it. It says, "Hi, Candace. I'm reporting a piece for the Free Press on the economics." Ooh, economics. I like economics. This must be straight middle of a line, right? There can't be any bias here. "I'm reporting a piece for the Free Press on the economics of high engagement political content on YouTube and podcast platforms. I'm reaching out for comment regarding several assertions that you've made in recent episodes, including claims about Israel, the death of Charlie Kirk, and the Becoming Brigitte series. I also want to ask about the financial side of your operation because it is central to the story. Here are his 5 questions. 1, since publishing anti-Israel and anti-Jewish claims, have you seen a measurable increase in watch time, subscriber growth, or revenue across YouTube, Rumble, or your podcast feeds? 2, have sponsors and ad partners or platform reps encouraged or pushed back on this shift in content direction? 3, do you see any correlation between escalation in claims and the performance metrics that drive your business, retention, average viewer, duration, CPM, RPM, member conversion, etc.?
Here's the real question that you should be asking the Free Press. And for that, on top of that, all Zionist backers of Israel at this point, do you think your strategy at yelling blood libel and Israel first and you're a Jew hater and you're an anti-Semite is beneficial in the long run to attracting people to support Israel? Have you seen an uptick in support for that?
Or to what extent do you view conspiracy content as an editorial choice versus a business decision? And 5, do you believe your recent content about Israel and Jewish influence is rooted in evidence, or do you see it primarily as commentary? Yeah, no, I'm going to get back to him. Obviously, I have to just pull up, I have to pivot over to that SS tab, the Hitler tab, which shows the metrics of exactly how people are responding to anti-Jewish rhetoric.
Yeah, here's the truth is when they're talking about conspiratorial content, that just means content that puts Israel in a negative light. You know what the real conspiratorial content is? This psyop that says the real influence in our government is from Qatar and not from Israel. Or Russia. That was the big thing, 3 years ago as Russiagate. There's way too much Russian influence in the United States government, even though both Trump and Biden gave Ukraine weapons. Trump in his first term pulled out of the INF treaty unilaterally, disqualifying an entire range of ballistic missiles to be used. Didn't exactly make Putin happy, not the sort of thing a Russian spy would do. Blasted Russia for giving Snowden safe haven, not exactly a kind gesture either, and slapping sanctions on Russia. And then Biden gave them millions of dollars while people are still saying there's too much Russian influence. And now because people are more critical of Israel than ever, Qatar is running the show. That's the real conspiratorial content. The truth is that the Israel lobby is way too powerful in the bureaucracy, in Congress, in the presidency.
And we just have to pull that from YouTube because I can see we've done some tests, and obviously the advertisers have been, that's the whole thing. That's the nature of the business, obviously, is that you can only make money. The only people that are being successful, that are successful at all, it's pretty obvious, is because they hate Jews. That's kind of what's implied. Why do we have to pretend this is journalism, right? Are you shocked if I tell you that Ashley Reinsberg, he happens to live in Tel Aviv? You just cannot make it up. Just write your articles. Stop pretending that you're a journalist. It's totally fine.
Yeah, just write the hit pieces. And no, it's just a coincidence there in Tel Aviv. This isn't something that a Zionist would write. It's not trying to pin Candace Owens down as being a Jew hater or getting her to weigh in on your petty game to try to undermine her. It's just a coincidence they're in Tel Aviv. Right? They're probably an Israeli dissident from within Tel Aviv, right?
Your job is to write hit pieces, to say that you guys are being victimized at all times, forever, since the beginning of time. And it's obviously not anything that you're doing that's causing a reaction. It's not like they're just genociding Palestinians right now. So it's about metrics. It's about the SS tab that's behind the scenes of YouTube. So I'll get that content. I'll get those metrics over to you, Ash. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's nothing, there's nothing anti-Israel about, hey, we're going to just double down on the backing of this genocide in Gaza. If you really wanted to drum up anti-Semitism, here's how you do it. You meet with convicted Israeli spies that got convicted for life terms in the United States. You try to hide it from the public. The White House doubles down on it. That's one way. And then you say Israel is indistinguishable from Judaism in general, which many Zionists do. So if you attack Israel, you're attacking Jews, so they say, right? And then it's bombing a country and entering a new war despite violating campaign promises to do it just for Israel. That happened in Iran. It's allowing Israel to bomb an ostensible U.S. ally in Qatar. It has our biggest air base there. And just saying, there's no problem. We're not going to withhold any aid because you did that. We're actually just going to have this theatrical presentation where Netanyahu calls the Qatari government and apologizes, but with no ramifications. It's giving Israelis $25 billion since October 7th on top of all that. And then most of all, if you want to spread anti-Semitism, as I said again, continuing to say that Israel's indistinguishable from Judaism, is to double down on the genocide, to say it's not a genocide in Gaza. To say it's all Hamas causing the genocide. It's to say that there's no such thing as an innocent Palestinian, like Brian Mast said. It's to say that we should nuke Gaza twice, like Randy Fine said. It's also to call Tucker Carlson the most dangerous anti-Semite in America, as Randy Fine just called him about a week ago. That's how you do this. That's how you sow the seeds of anti-Semitism. And anytime someone levies a reasonable critique of Israel, you just call them a Jew hater. You scream blood libel. You say that they're just, supporting a new Holocaust, that they've sided with Hamas. And then you repeat the typical Hasbara Zionist propaganda like, Israel was just minding its own business. History began on October 7th. There was nothing that provoked people to attack Israel the way it did. Not to justify it, but that is what they say, right? So Candace is right on the money here. The Pollard thing is such a shameless action on the part of the United States and on the part of the Trump administration. Huckabee should easily face impeachment for this. And it just shows you what the U.S. government can get away with how much influence the Israel lobby has, that they can even back an action like this. I don't think this would happen to any other country. Imagine if this happened to Russia. where there was a Ukrainian spy in Russia. He was convicted, he was released, and then a person in the Russian administration was caught meeting with that person. It's just so unimaginably absurd. It's impossible to entertain. But that's what we're seeing. It's a circus everywhere. Zionist-occupied government, that's what you get. But what do you guys have to say? Do you agree with Candace Owens? Is this just nutty? Is this just gone way too far? Is this treasonous? Because, by all definitions, Pollard was a traitor. He provided U.S. secrets from within the government, working for naval intelligence, to the Israelis. And guess what the Israelis did with some of that information, by the way? They gave it straight to the Soviets at the height of the Cold War. That's what they did. But Huckabee can just meet with him with impunity. That's what we get. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Candace. She's great. Really appreciate this segment. It was well presented, that's for sure. Candace is a hero, and I'm so glad so many people on the right are being exposed to her ideas about Israel, and she has the totally correct mindset on this. Also, if you like this video, please join as a YouTube member, or consider doing so by clicking the join button down below. If you do that, you can help support the channel, and I'll really appreciate you if you go that lengths to help me out. And in return for that deed, I'll give you access to all of my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. You'll be able to see all of my members-only videos immediately if you do that. Until I see, also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. Plug in your email on that site. I'll shoot you a PDF copy of my first book free of charge, no obligation, just because I appreciate you. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.
Did I report it to the White House? Of course I reported it to the White House. Did I report it to the FBI? Of course I reported it to the FBI. Did I report it to our counterterrorism unit? Of course I reported it, because I'm telling you there's a paper trail. Common sense. Because I'm assuming you could get a felony for making something up out of thin air like that. You can't just use United States resources to go after somebody in a plot that never existed that you did for clicks on YouTube.
The Macrons ordered my assassination. France ordered my assassination. That's what Candace Owens, the prominent conservative content creator, is claiming, and has claimed for about a week on Twitter. Now having her first show on this subject, why does she believe this? What does she think substantiates it? And what does it tell us about American politics and the French and U.S. responses to this? Let's just check it out. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
As you learn things, you become a target. You become a target to people that operate in the shadows. And that is, I think, what we are all learning in the wake of the last couple of months, especially. Now, going back to November 25th, I obviously tweeted exactly what I was informed. Okay, I'm going to read that tweet to you in its entirety. Urgent. 2 days ago, I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government. After determining this person's position and proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information that they gave me to be credible enough to share publicly in the event that something happens. In short, this person claims the Macrons have executed upon and paid for my assassination. Yes, you read that correctly. More specifically, that the green light was given to a small team in the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group. I am told there is one Israeli that is on the assassination squad and that plans were formalized. Again, this person provided concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. Further to this point, this person claims that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion 13th Brigade with multi-state involvement. Journalist Xavier Poussard's life is also at risk. This is deadly serious. The head of state of France apparently wants us both dead and has authorized professional units to carry this out. I ask that every person retweet and share this. I do not know who in the American government can be trusted, since this source claims that our leaders are aware. But I have more specific information, which is definitively verifiable, should they care to reach out to me. And to the brave official in France who did this because they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution to risk their own life, may God bless you truly. Let all be revealed. Now,
so just pay attention to the basic details here. First, she's claiming that a group within the National Gendarmerie Intervention Group, that's a French special forces unit, was ordered to do the hit on Candace Owens. That also, the person that gave her this source, a high-ranking official in France's government, also claimed that Charlie Kirk's assassination trained with the French Legion 13th Brigade and also have threatened Xavier Poussard's life. He was the French journalist that revealed a lot of the same scathing things about Brigitte Macron as Candace did. And, subsequent messages from Candace has said she's reached out to authorities in the United States, not only the FBI, but also in other organizations and other institutions within the United States to convey this, even going so far as to say she'll give the names and information of the people that she believes was responsible. Just hold that in your mind. It's going to be important in analyzing this later.
I got even more specific. Right? I said there was a paper trail that Macron allegedly paid $1.5 million. And I am saying allegedly because until I can physically see with my own eyes inside of these accounts and verify the transfer of that payment, it's of course alleged. The amount is alleged. 2 assassins were hired, one Israeli, one French-Canadian woman, okay, a man and a woman. And I also said that the money ran through the elite gentleman Club des Cent. Again, I was very specific. And I asserted that the French Foreign Legion, which was a legion and a group that I had never heard about prior to this notification, were involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Okay, I don't follow military stuff. So me even mentioning specific gendarmerie, you have to assume that I got this information from somebody. Now, if you are, in fact, currently at this moment, the first man of France, that would be Brigitte Macron, and you are currently suing a podcaster in America named Candace Owens for defamation, for telling the truth, right? And the story that you are trying to sell to the public is that you were really deep down in your heart, you really believe that you are a woman and Candace is just crazy and desperate for clicks and willing to defame you for money. Then Candace Owens publicly proclaiming and accusing you of something directly implicated in her assassination, a claim which has gone viral. When I say viral, I mean just the tweet alone had over 100,000 retweets and 45 million impressions on X alone, okay?
Yeah, I think her original tweet had something like, 50 million views or something. It was just insane, just astronomical in Twitter. And whatever you think about these claims, whether they're right or wrong, this does seem to be a motive on the Macron side to want to do this to Candace Owens. She's accused Brigitte Macron of being a man, being born a man, secretly, and having that covered up. And so much so has this incensed the French that they've sued her for defamation. And by the way, that's the interesting part of that story to me. The precedent that this sets, that a foreign head of state that's ostensibly a U.S. ally is suing an American content creator for things critical about them, possibly untrue. But what kind of precedent is that going to stand for in a world where a new independent media is rising and rising, displacing the old legacy media? Are we just going to get lawsuit after lawsuit from foreign heads of state? But either way, there's a motive here, so much so that Macron, when visiting the White House, somehow got the Trump administration to call Candace Owens and tell her, hey, you got to stop talking about Brigitte Macron being a man. I mean, it's just so comical. But when you think of this, the motive exists even if you think these claims are wrong. She's citing that they came from a high-ranking French official, and there is a motive, whether or not you think it happened.
Okay. This would be your unique opportunity as the French first man to prove your case about Candace to the public, right? In the court of public opinion. This would be your time to slam dunk. Remember, the French couple has been so psychotically obsessed with trying to paint me as conflicted in my reporting that they even hired a private investigator to try to see if I was colluding with other state actors. They kind of gloriously insinuated that I might be working with Russia. They paid for that. They paid for that investigation. So using that logic, wouldn't this be the opportunity, if you're the French couple, to come out and to prove your point, to make a stunning and a swift statement, right? We are shocked by the accusation Of course, never in a million years. Oh, we told you guys, this is just for clicks. It's for money. This is beyond anything we've ever heard. I hope Candace gets well soon. That would be what I would say you should do if I'm advising you from a PR statement.
Okay, so I want to address this because that actually has happened from two segments of the French government to some extent. So Élysée Palace, that is where the French presidential couple resides. It's that complex. It's like saying the White House, but the French version, Élysée Palace. Here's what they said about Candace's claim. These accusations are not only unfounded but dangerous, designed to incite harm without any factual basis. In addition, the French Foreign Ministry has denied any involvement in that foreign assassination claim or ties to Kirk's death, calling it an absurd fabrication. So I don't think that this has been widely printed in U.S. publications, but it has been printed in some, including in this one that I'm about to bring up here. This story talks about this, and this came from December 1st. So this was earlier today. Candace was probably not made privy to this, is my explanation. But this section in its whole talks about this and the French response. So they have actually responded to it. Maybe Candace wasn't aware of that, but they have responded to it and denied it pretty swiftly from what I've seen.
Standpoint, right? In American basketball terms, this is like a flagrant foul, and you now get some free throws, right? If you're the French couple, you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, investigative fees, and PR fees in a country on the other side of the Atlantic, trying desperately to paint me as a lunatic, and I give you the opportunity to spike the ball to prove that I'm a lunatic, and you don't do it? No, they didn't do it, did they? If you've been paying attention, they did not do it. Of course, they send out the people on Twitter who get to come out and say, oh, I think she's crazy. I think she's making it up. They do this. We are always doing this every week.
He's right about that. They do that every week. They say she's lost her mind. They said this about her Charlie Kirk assertion that Charlie Kirk did not maintain rigid adherence to the Zionist mantra right before he died, and in fact said to the contrary. He had changed his mind on that, while people in the text group exposed to Charlie Kirk's last words, some of them anyway, saying, I have no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause, continued to lie about them after seeing that, and Candace Owens completely exposed them. And they still maintain the same line in this whole story. I don't know the truth yet. I don't have full corroboration of her claims. I might never get that. But what I do know is that the U.S. government hasn't responded whatsoever to her claims at all yet, despite the fact she said she shared that information. The U.S. feds have been pretty mum about this whole thing. And she is saying she thinks it can be corroborated. Maybe it will. And so much so that even Brandon Tatum, who doesn't agree with Candace at all on issues like Israel, has come out and said, I think she's trustworthy. I think she's telling the truth, whether or not it's true, that this is the source that came to her and she provided the info. So we'll see what happens, but they're maintaining the same line that she's just lost her mind. She's just crazy. Well, last time she exposed them after saying that when it came to Charlie Kirk and his turn away from the pro-Israel cause in his own words.
Oh, Trump never called her about Brigitte Macron. She's making that up for attention. Oh, she's lying. Charlie Kirk never changed his mind about Israel. She's making that up for attention. This is what we do every week, right? We're hamsters on a wheel. And so we're back to that again, right? People saying that I made it up. But what did the French couple do? That's what matters. It's now been a full week since I made that announcement. And here is the official response issued by the Élysée Palace.
Oh.
Nothing.
Okay, I thought she was actually going to play the response, but it's not true. They did respond. I just read the quote. Again, Candace might not have been privy to that, at least in that one article I saw. That article only came out today. She might not have seen it, but Élysée Palace did respond to this, calling it a unfounded but dangerous accusations and designed to incite harm without any factual basis. So it's not crickets, but in a way, if that only just came out today, I think it did, Candace might not have been aware of that, but they have denied it today.
Nothing. I want you to bear in mind that this was front page global news from the United States to Russia. And I publicly challenged the Candace is making everything up crowd to prove it. press the White House for a response, right? The White House the ball's very firmly in their court. And a week later, this is the official White House response.
As far as I can tell, that is the truth completely. There hasn't been any response I've seen reported from the White House on this, or any segment of the federal government on this, either corroborating or refuting her claims about this. So we'll have to pay attention to that. This is still a developing story, but she's totally right about that one. There hasn't been a federal response from what I've seen.
So what are we to make of that, you guys? Did I report it to the White House? Of course I reported it to the White House. Did I report it to the FBI? Of course I reported it to the FBI. Did I report it to our counterterrorism unit? Of course I reported it, because I'm telling you there's a paper trail. Common sense. You think I'm just doing that because I'm assuming you could get a felony for making something up out of thin air like that? You can't just use United States resources to go after somebody in a plot that never existed that you did for clicks on YouTube. So what's the issue here? Why is no one coming out and telling you that that's completely baseless, especially the Charlie Kirk assassination? The whole world is invested in that assassination. Wouldn't you want to shut that down? The idea that it was a multinationally planned event? And by the way, is that on its face even plausible? Multiple agencies and multiple countries involved, from Egypt to Israel. People are saying that's totally crazy. No, it's the lone shooter who had never been on campus, who climbed the roofs like Spider-Man, happened to know where Charlie would be sitting and hit that shot in 4 seconds. Is it plausible that that's not the truth? Of course it's plausible. Anyone who knows anything about the French government probably knows that they have an appetite for cruelty and sexual deviancy. Anybody who has made it through the first couple of episodes of Becoming Brigitte knows that the French government has an appetite for cruelty and sexual deviancy. Okay.
All right, so in terms of the FBI shutting the door on foreign involvement, that kind of has happened, at least implicitly, because if you remember, Joe Kent, one of the chief subordinates of Tulsi Gabbard, actually came to the FBI, came to Kash Patel and said, hey, look at all these leads that we've dug up to investigate possible foreign influence in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Will you have a look at them? No. Door slammed shut on Joe Kent by Kash Patel. This is widely reported from a few weeks ago. They didn't want to even entertain the notion that there were alternative explanations because they had already dug into and stuck their heels in this narrative. And yeah, I'm sorry, I think the most plausible thing for Americans to believe is that the FBI narrative is never 100% true. It's never 100% clear. What proves that more than January 6th and COINTELPRO and Waco and Ruby Ridge and all of those, designed things to botch investigations, to just sweep the truth under the rug, protect themselves, protect the Uniparty, and protect foreign actors, especially Israel, by the way.
Okay. LOL. The city of romance, really? Romance with who? Exactly. That's one of the broader points of the Becoming Brigitte series. And so I'd like to thank Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram, for being one of the first people to stick out his neck immediately and to assert what the entire world already knows about France. Here's what he said. He said, after reviewing everything Charlie Kirk has ever said about Macron's France, I find Candace's information about French involvement in his death entirely plausible. Charlie even called for 300% tariffs on France until the charges against me were dropped. And I also would like to shout out Freddie Ponton, who wrote this article reminding people, and when I say reminding, I mean teaching people, if you're me, because I didn't know this, that exactly this satellite of countries, France, Israel, the French Legion, the United States, Egypt, were quite literally involved in exactly this sort of operation, which further reaching global implications, involving the Safari Club in Egypt. Now, if you haven't heard of that, this was the article that he wrote, passed as prologue, Safari Club illuminates Candace Owens' allegations. I had never heard of this. I really hadn't, okay? Because I feel like I'm Alice in Wonderland. A few years ago, I kind of believed everything the government said. I thought there were good guys. And after the Charlie Kirk assassination, I'm going, oh, wait, no. Nobody is a good guy. These are like gangs that are running the world, obviously, gangs that have gone mainstream.
Yeah, that's been the deep state. I mean, that's been the basis of CIA propaganda, inciting regime change operations and psychological operations. That's for sure. And I want to refresh, some of my audience might not know who Pavel Durov is, but he was the founder of Telegram, the social media platform, and he got in trouble with the French authorities. They arrested him ostensibly because they said that he was involved in trafficking illicit materials, including child porn and also illicit drugs. But what they're saying is that no, people actually just did that on his platform, and they want to pin it on him and for him to go down on that. What they really wanted to do was attack his right to have a social media platform where things that were said were not conducive to the French authorities, particularly painting the Macrons in a bad light and blaming the nefarious crimes of individuals just for using his platform to communicate. Thankfully, he's free for now. And, you know, as far as I can tell, he's a champion of free speech, but I just want to inform you of that if you weren't aware.
And democracy and the idea of a republic is just an illusion. Well, anyways, in that article, I'm only going to read a paragraph from it, but he said, when Candace Owens claimed on X that a high-ranking French government insider warned her of an imminent plot to have her assassinated, alleging that President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte had authorized and financed the operation, assigning it to a small national gendarmerie intervention group team that included an Israeli operative. She also suggested that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion with multi-state involvement. The claim sounded like it belonged to the realm of conspiracy thrillers, and yet, as the allegation ricocheted across social media, something unusual happened. People did not instinctively laugh it off. Some dismissed it, yes, but many hesitated, paused, or quietly admitted that given the right circumstances, given the right network of covert actors, such a plot didn't feel entirely impossible. That hesitation doesn't come from trust in Owens, it comes from history. And sure enough, and I'm just pulling up the Wikipedia page here, you should go read that article in its entirety, but the Safari Club, man, a covert alliance of intelligence services formed in 1976 that ran operations around Africa when the United States Congress had limited the power of the CIA after years of abuses. They decided to kind of go overseas and handle business. They had members in pre-revolutionary Iran, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, and France. Israel's involved, Rhodesia, South Africa. I mean, it tells you there that the processes then resulted in the 1979 Egypt-Israel.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see how this develops. The video got cut off on the Safari Club area there. I'm not sure why that happened, but this is a developing story. We don't have all the answers. As I talked about before, some of the claims, relied on passing information to federal authorities, including the White House and the FBI and the Counterterrorism Office, as Candace Owens said, and we haven't gotten a response from the feds. So I can't wait to see a response from the feds. I would like to see that as quickly as possible, and it is actually interesting what they might say, because if they deny this completely and say there's nothing there, just like the French authorities are, I don't put it past Candace Owens to produce actual receipts and names and try to nail this down and have, sleuths on the internet search and find out what they can do. Because when the FBI doesn't do that, when they have a preconceived narrative that they're protecting and they don't want to do, the future of investigations is through independent media and individual investigations. It's not through deep state organizations that no one trusts anymore, and for good reason. The FBI has had such a murderous history that who can trust them? Very few people do, if at all, especially when they believe, like, hey, you were guilty of some of the most nefarious behavior on earth. And not enough people think that, but it's enough for basically all dissidents to call for the abolishment of the FBI and its current leadership, which is just so preposterously absurd and corrupt that not only are they covering up the Epstein case, but they're certainly not giving us the full story of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Whoever you think is culpable for that murder, or group of people you think is involved in that murder. That's just the truth. And what we have here is an attempt to marginalize Candace Owens, just like there was done when she criticized Israel, when she dared to say that genocide is wrong no matter who did it, when she dared to say that no, Charlie Kirk actually was changing his mind on Israel and being beholden to Israel and being so supportive of the pro-Israel cause. So much so that you guys lied about him to try to pull him and use his death to further your own political agenda. And Candace Owens turned out to be right. Well, she might be turning out to be right here. We don't have full information or corroboration, but I'm really interested to see what the United States says about it, to see how to handle this and how to cover it going forward. Now, also, we have this tweet from Candace.